Scrumble Beginnings, Entertainment Should Challenge. Hello, this is Adam Bilby speaking, and I'll be the Scrum Master for this capstone project. Garrett Clement will be the product owner, Daniel Rose will be the Git Lord, and Malak White will also be a product owner. So I'm going to go over the team roles. So as a Scrum Master, I have a big array of responsibilities. That means basically tracking the progress of the project and turning in the project. Um, this also means that making sure that the team does what it needs to, and it's my responsibility to make sure that we make progress even if the parts of the team do not um, to meet their responsibilities. This also means choosing to exclude people if they don't from the project reports, and trying to deal with team conflicts if they arise. So this means that I am there to be a good leader and a good manager, as stated by this slide here. The Git Lord, that means Daniel, he's going to be in charge of administrating the GitHub repository. He basically knows how GitHub works, he uses it at his job, and so he's going to be able to disseminate information, help those who are having issues with it. And he's also going to be doing the issue tracking and the branching structure for the project. The product owners are going to provide the creative vision for us and drive us towards an integrated user experience. They provide acceptance testing for all code except for the code they write, which is tested by another product owner, or if they need someone else to test it, they can ask them to. They own the product on behalf of the team. They facilitate product decisions. They have the final say about the product, and they are responsible for creating and maintaining the product backlog. So we have a team agreement, and we're going to start off with the team norms that we have. Well, we have mutual welfare and benefit. Team members should respect one another's ambitions and limitations so that they all gain from this project. Everyone's creative input matters and everyone contributes. We have a critical thought and communication. Team members will respectfully bring up issues they see as the most immediate time appropriate. Team members will not ignore problems or allow anger or frustration to build up with others. So we don't want anyone not saying that they disapprove and passively agreeing and then going on to undermine the decision later. We need everyone to be on the same page about how they feel. We respect punctuality. Team members should show up to meetings on time. Team members shouldn't bring up off-topic points in meetings. Meetings should not go much longer than planned, and team members should not cause meetings to go longer than planned. Team members will recognize one another as competent developers who deserve to be heard. Team members will lend their knowledge and advice if it would not interfere with the learning of another team member. And then what this means is that you can help people and give advice, but sometimes people do have to figure it out themselves so that they can actually grow as a developer. And so striking that balance is really important for us. So we have a weekly meeting structure. So at 7:30 on meetings, we're gonna have our sprint beginning that day. Throughout the day, people should be thinking about what kind of tasks they want to do. And at 7:30, we're gonna break down our epic user stories into actual child user stories that we can attack over the week. And this means that we'll be putting that into our issue tracking and begin work. By Wednesday, we should have some initial progress done for our 7:30 stand-up, and we should be reporting that there. And if you find out that something won't work, if one of our team members finds out that something won't work, they can request for a change in plans by that Wednesday, and maybe we can kind of salvage the sprint from there. But beyond that, you kind of need to stick with what you're doing. Friday, we have progress, report the progress, any challenges you might be having, but we should be wrapping up around then. And then on 7:30 on Friday, you should be reporting that you're having an emergency and you're not going to get it done. If that's the case, and that way the rest of us can kind of fill in and see what we can get, if we can meet some of those functionalities for the rest of the sprint and make sure that we have something for everybody to report. And then at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a code freeze, we're going to do testing, and we're going to do the presentation production after that. And that's our 8 o'clock meeting on Saturday. So this is our environment. We're going to be using Java 8. We're going to be using the GitHub issue tracking. We're going to be doing NetBeans 8.1 or 8.2. And then we're going to be using Git version control with the GitHub. And then we're going to be using file sharing and document production through Google Drive. And then we're going to be doing our presentation videos on YouTube. And I'll be using YouTube Editor to splice all these together with a MP4 720p format. Um, so we're going to be doing regression testing. So that means like every child user story and acceptance test associated with it. We're going to be checking those in a big checklist every week, and that means so on week 1 we'll test that. On week 2 we'll test week 1 and week 2, and so on and so forth. So if new code breaks an old feature, it may be rejected if it's severe enough until they can be reconciled. Otherwise, if it's just a small bug, we can put it into the next week as an issue to be tracked, and that way, we don't interfere with too much. So we have 2 product owners, and this is their contact information. Regression testing will be implemented for this project. So this means every user story will be tested for the functionality for each build, and these 2 guys are going to be doing it, Garrett and Matlock. We have our capacity planning, and this just basically means we're going to try to find the highest priority sprints and just distribute 20 hours of work to everybody. And so we're going to have to get used to actually doing that, but that's our plan. So our actual project is going to be Super Ninja. That's our working title right now. It's a side-scrolling action game where a ninja essentially goes through 3 different villages, fighting various enemies with different attack patterns that they have to learn how to exploit. They're going to be using a variety of mechanics to overcome these challenges. They're going to be going through different terrain, and they're going to have there's going to be deaths, and you're going to have to reload, and you'll be able to save your game. And we also plan on having sound effects and music in there as well. So this is Adam Bilby presenting my epic stories for Super Ninja. So as a player, I want a mini screen that provides me with options so that I can have control how the game begins. And this basically means that I want to have a new game and a load game, and that way I can load an old save state if I want to. As a player, I want to be able to save my progress in the game so that I may return to that point later. This means that we're going to have to create like a save game file format, and we're going to have options such as this diagram here shows how that might be accomplished through a menu. As a player, I want to proceed through several discrete levels which increase in difficulty so that I may feel the sense of progress. And that means that we want each stage to kind of have a different feel to it. Where stage 1, it's about learning the game's mechanics, kind of being trained, and then stage 2, you're going to be tested on your stage 1 mechanics, but training for the stage 3, and then stage 3 will be your high-level mechanics will be tested quite severely. As a player, I want to navigate terrains that I feel challenged by and immersed in the game world. And this means that we're going to have things like traps, spike pits, floating platforms, terrain that provides stealth for you, and other kinds of ideas that we've been bouncing around. As a player, I want to hear music while I play so that I can have a better sense of immersion. Music which is methodical or more down tempo might be for stage 1, and then stage 2 you might pick up the pace and make it more heavy and more exciting. And then stage 3, depending on how the story or other things that are factors in it, we might tune it down and make it more sad. But we want it to be varied, and if there's also bosses, we might want to have special music for them as well. As a player, I want to hear sound effects when events happen in the game so that I have a better sense of immersion. So that means we need to have like an event system for like jumps, landing effects, and such. So when the character does something in the world or when other things happen in the world, there's actually sound effects associated with them. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Garrett Clement, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about some of the game mechanics we would like to add to our game. The first epic user story. As a player, I want to be able to do combos so that I can kill my enemies. We want to add a very nice combo system to the game so the player doesn't just get bored of attacking using 1 or 2 attacks over and over. We want to be able to chain them together so when the player pulls off a cool combo, he feels achieved. The next epic user story. As a player, I want to be able to do aerial attacks so that I can kill my enemies from the sky. So we also don't want to ground the player to level that he's fighting on, but we want him to be able to jump and kill enemies from above, so he actually feels like a ninja. The next epic user story. As a player, I want to be able to jump, dodge, parry, and crouch so that I can evade my enemy's attacks. So we also want to focus on a lot of high mobility for our main player since he is a ninja. We want him to be able to jump around, dodge, and of course crouch to dodge arrows. The last epic user story. As a player, I want to be able to fight multiple kinds of enemies so I do not get bored. We want to also add a variety of enemies in there because if you play a game with one enemy in it, it gets really, really monotonous.
Hello, I'm Daniel Rose, and I'm here to share with you some epic user stories about the graphics in our game. So let's get started. So our first epic user story is, as a game figure, I want an idle animation so that I don't appear as a static image when I'm not moving. So first, you may notice we use the generic language game figure because we want to be at that level of abstraction when we're talking about these animations, because we want to be able to take advantage of polymorphism. Whether we're rendering our ninja character or an enemy, we want to be able to use the same code and just switch out the images that are being shown on the screen. And with an idle animation, it's something that I think is just sort of expected in most games nowadays. You can see some really great art here. That's what we've already got from Matlock. You can see his knees are a little bit bent in the middle, so he might be, moving up and down a little bit. So you can tell that he's alive, basically. You can even have some fun with this, maybe down the road, where if the player leaves the character idle after a certain amount of time, he'll sort of shuffle his feet or do something else that someone who's bored might do. So moving on to the next one, we have, again with the generic language, game figure. As a game figure, I want to have movement animations so that my model appears to be running and jumping as I move around the screen. So we don't just want a static image moving back and forth. We want to actually see our ninjas' arms and legs moving. Same thing with the enemies. You can see some more concept art here by Matlock that is a really good starting point, and he's working on some digital ones that we'll actually be using in the game. And this is just, really this is where the rubber meets the road as far as the game starting to feel alive and really look good. So this is not something I'd done before and was excited to work on for this project. So I'm looking forward to implementing movement animations like this. So our next one is, as a game figure, I want to have animations for attacks so that my model appears to be attacking when I do damage. So again, great concept art from Matlock here for some a sword attack where he's sort of shooting a fireball, kind of looks like. But again, with the generic idea that we want to do this at the game figure level so that whether it's an enemy or Nin or anyone, whenever they attack, they can call the same code, but just switch out what the frames that are being shown on the screen. And these sorts of animations will be important because you'll need to know when you're attacking and when the enemies are attacking so that you can dodge and make sure that your timing hits right. So it's important that these are pretty specific and recognizable because they're a lot of the feedback for the player and how they actually interact. So there's two more images there. I didn't realize I had those on animation. So our last epic user story for now for the animations is, as a game figure, I want animations for certain mechanics, such as using a health pack or taking damage, so that the user can tell when a certain mechanic has occurred. So the best image that we have right now for this is this more concept art from Matlock of different emotions on Nin's eyes. And these are the sort of things that you can switch out. So maybe when he gets hurt, he winces. And when the character dies, for example, you need to have an animation for him falling down and dying. Basically, all these sort of auxiliary animations that you might not think about at first. Like I mentioned, picking up a health pack earlier, or leveling up, or using a ladder, or these sorts of things. We'll probably start out with just simple like emotions here and picking up health packs and dying. Basically the bare minimum what you need. If we have time to add any extra, we can look into that. But this is another important part of feedback for the player as well, so that they can tell when certain things have happened. You won't be able to play the game if you can't tell when you pick up a health pack, for example, or when you died. So that concludes my section, and on to Matlock. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matlock White, and today I'm going to be walking you through the different epic user stories for the enemy archetypes. Alright, now as an enemy AI, we want to have different archetypes using either ranged, melee, or sneak attacks. Now the melee and ranged attack archetypes are going to focus on full frontal assaults, where the melee is going to try to charge in as soon as possible, and the range is going to try to put as much distance between the player and the enemy as much as possible. Now the third archetype, our stealth archetype, will actually attack from the player from the rear and will wait to the opportune moment to strike the player. The stealth archetype is designed to be used and played off of the other archetypes. However, in the event that there is no other archetype available, then the stealth archetype should switch from trying to attack from the behind and then to attacking from the front. Our fourth archetype will be the boss archetype, who will be present at the end of each one of the various levels. Now, as an enemy, we want to have different combos based on the different archetypes. For melee, a combination of light and heavy attacks, ranged, evasive and aerial attacks, and stealth with evasion and quick dashes. Now, all these archetypes are going to have their own special ability, like melee grabs to keep the player as close as possible, ranged root attacks, and stealth heavy knockbacks to put some distance between the player and the enemy. And as an enemy, we want there to be a whole bunch of different kill animations also based on the varying archetypes. We have here a couple of quick sketches put together to show what the kill animations to the player would look like. And then finally, as an enemy archetype, we want to be able to ambush the player. And this will be triggered once the player reaches a certain position along the whole entire grid of the map. Once that player reaches the position, whole bunch of different enemies of varying archetypes are going to pop out from several different places to attack the player all at once. The idea behind this is to keep it fresh and entertaining, so that way the player doesn't actually get bored while playing the game. Thank you very much.